Listen to me very well because something is not adding up here. So you are telling me that Umar Ardo came out boldly on national television and declared that Atiku Abubakar will 100% to win the ADC primaries, even if they repeat it 100 times, 100%, no contest. Then, what exactly are we doing in this country? Democracy or pre-written scripts? Because when somebody speak with that level of certainty in Nigerian politics, you have to ask yourself, is this analysis or is this insider confidence? And then he goes further. He start breaking down the so-called possibility. He mentioned Peter Obi, Rotimi Amaechi, and others, saying if there are going to be consensus, they would have to step down. Why is this conversation already centered on who should step down instead of who should earn it? Why is it sounding like the trace is already titled in one direction? And then this part got me thinking deeply. He says Obi might step down, but his supporter, the obedience movement, will resist it. And without them, Obi is nothing. That statement alone is very dangerous because what you are indirectly saying is that political strength in Nigeria is no longer about the individual alone. It is about the movement behind you. And that movement, it is unpredictable. It cannot be controlled in backroom meeting. So now the question is, who really holds the power? Is it the politician or the people? Then he flip it again and says Atiku supporter may allow him to step down, but he himself is not likely to do so. So now we have two reality. One candidate who might be willing to step down but can't control the base. Another candidate whose base might allow it, but he won't agree himself. So where exactly is this consensus going to come from? Or is this just another political word Nigerians are being fed to prepare their mind for a predetermined outcome? Because let's be honest here, every election cycle we hear this same pattern: prediction, alignment, silent agreement, and suddenly the result look exactly like what insider has been saying for months. And you expect Nigerians to just sit down and clap? No. Let me tell you something. When somebody says one man will win 100%, that is not confidence. That is a signal. A signal that something deeper is already in motion behind the scene. And the real question is not whether Atiku can win. The real question is, will the process be fair enough for Nigeria to believe whoever win actually end it? Because right now, it is not looking like a contest. It is looking like a conclusion waiting to be announced. And this is where it gets even more serious. Because Nigerians, we need to stop pretending like we don't understand this pattern. When a statement like that came out, bold, unapologetic, it is not just a prediction. It is a message to other politicians in that space. A message that says, fall in line early or prepare to be isolated. Now, think about Peter Obi again. They are already planting the narrative that he might step down, but his supporter won't allow it. That is not just analysis, that is pressure. Pressure on him to either control his base or risk being framed as the obstacle to unity. And we have seen this strategy before in Nigeria politics. First, they introduce the idea of consensus. Then they start identifying who is reasonable enough to step down. Then suddenly, anyone who refuses becomes the problem. Do you see that game? Now, let's talk about Atiku'll Abubakar in this whole equation. Because if truly, as Umar Ardo claims, Atiku'll is guaranteed to win, then why is there even a conversation about consensus? Why not just allow a free, open, transparent primary and let Nigeria see the results clearly? Why the need to start calculating who should step down, who should align, who should sacrifice? That tells you one thing. This is not just about winning. This is about controlling the path to victory. And when the path is controlled, the outcome is really a surprise. Now, let's bring in Rotimi Amaechi, because his name was also mentioned. But notice how casually it was inserted in the conversation, almost like an afterthought. That is how political hierarchy are quietly communicated. Some names are treated as contender, others are treated as negotiators, and some are already being positioned as people who should step aside for the bigger pictures. But who define this bigger picture? Is it the Nigeria people, or is it close to circle or political elites deciding what is best for everybody else? Because if we are being honest here, Nigerians are tired of meetings that happen behind closed doors, tired of decisions that are made before votes are cast, tired of being told to accept outcomes that were clearly engineered long before election day. And this is where the obedient movement become a serious factor. Because whether you like Peter Obi or not, one thing is clear: his supporter base is not the traditional political structure. It is organic, it is emotional, and most importantly, it is resistant to control. So when you hear statements like "without them, Obi is nothing," understand what that really means. It means the power has shifted, even if the system is trying to pull it back. Now, the big question is this: if the people refuse to align with this so-called consensus arrangement, what happens next? Will the system adjust to the will of the people, or will the system try to override it? Because history has shown us, anytime the gap between the people and the political elites becomes too wide, something gives. And right now, that gap is widening again, slowly, quietly, and very dangerous. So don't just listen to this statement and move on. Read between the lines, because what is being said publicly is only a fraction of what is already being negotiated privately. And Nigerians, you already know how this story usually ends, because this is where everything comes together. Nigerians, what we are witnessing right now is not just political talk, it is positioning. Carefully calculated positioning, because once narrative like this enter the public space, they begin to shape perception, and in politics, perception is power. If people start believing that Atiku'll is already the inevitable candidate, then suddenly other aspirants begin to look like they are just delaying the obvious. Do you understand how subtle manipulation works? Nobody is forcing anybody physically, but psychologically, the battlefield is already being prepared. And that is why you must pay attention to every word coming from people like Umar Ardo, because these are not random statements. These are signals to stakeholders, delegates, party insider, and even international observer. Signal that says this is the direction things are going. Adjust yourself accordingly. But here is the truth they don't want to say out loud. Nigeria has changed. The old formula is no longer as reliable as it used to be. You cannot sit in a room, draw a particular map, and expect millions of Nigeria to just follow it blindly anymore. Those days are fading, because now information moves fast. People are more aware, and movement, re-movement are rising outside the control of traditional power structure. That is why the mention of Peter Obi and his supporters is not a small issue in the conversation. It is the biggest white card, because you can negotiate with politicians, you can pressure party members, but you cannot easily negotiate with a decentralized, emotionally driven supporter base. And that is what is making this entire consensus conversation look shaky from the start. Now, let's be very clear. There is nothing wrong with Atiku'll contesting. There is nothing wrong with him believing he can win. That is democracy. But what Nigerians are watching closely now is the process. Is the process transparent? Is it competitive? Is it fair? Or is it already being arranged behind the scene while the public is giving a performance? Because if Nigerians sense, even for a moment, that this is another pre-arranged outcome, the backlash will not be small. It won't just be online noise. It will translate into resistance, voter apathy, and a deeper distrust in the entire political system. And when people lose trust completely, democracy itself starts to weaken. So this is bigger than Atiku'll. This is bigger than Peter Obi. This is bigger than Amaechi. This is about whether Nigerians still believe that voices matter in deciding leadership. Because at the end of the day, no amount of political calculation can replace the will of the people forever. You can delay it, You can try to control it, you can try to shape it, but eventually it will show itself. So as all these statements keep flying around, don't get distracted by the surface level drama. Focus on the process, watch the move, question the narrative, because in Nigerian politics, what looks like a prediction today can easily turn into a script tomorrow. And the only way that scripts change is if Nigeria refuses to play along. That is it. What are your thoughts? Drop it in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay informed, stay engaged. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.